Welcome to the Melanin Wellness Podcast, your go-to destination for all things health, beauty, and empowerment for people of color. The Melanin Wellness Podcast is more than just a podcast. It's a celebration of diversity, resilience, and self-love. I believe that wellness should be accessible to everyone, and here I aim to provide a platform where we can share knowledge, inspire positive change, and uplift our communities. I'm your host, Cori Dunn, and this is the podcast for seekers of knowledge on wellness. I'm thrilled to embark on this journey with you. Now let's transition in today's show. Hey family, welcome back to the Melanin Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Cori, and today we'll be diving into a topic that I know can be tough, but is so important in our healing journeys, and that is navigating triggers, practical tools for emotional resilience and healing. So whether you're in the thick of your healing or just starting out, triggers are very real and they can knock you off your path completely. But the good news is you can learn to navigate them and come out stronger on the opposite end. So grab your tea, your journal, or maybe even your sneakers if you're listening while you're on a walk, and let's get into it. But before we delve into today's episode, y'all know how we do over here. We always begin every episode with 30 seconds of gratitude. So today, I am so grateful for resilience. Last week was a very, very rough week for me. This time of year is always rough for me in general. And in the past couple of years, there have been other events that have occurred during this pocket of the year that makes it a little more difficult than before. And so I am so grateful for the resilience that I have to be able to recognize what's happening and to navigate to a outlet or to a source of support to help me get through these really rough times. I'm also grateful for the support team that I have. Like, my support team understands me in a way that oftentimes I don't even have to speak. They just know when something is not quite right. And because I can be a viciously private person, I often don't like to burden others with my issues. And the fact that they love me so deeply that they can tell, even by just the tone of my voice when something is off, I appreciate that, and I'm so grateful for that. I am also grateful for my healing. Some days it seems like I have gone all the way back to the beginning because the pain that I feel, the frustration, the anger, all of those things sometimes seem to rise back to the surface, and it seems like I'm at the beginning of my healing journey. But I do understand that healing is subjective and that there are going to be ebbs and flows, because during your healing, you don't understand that you are grieving so many things, a loss of who you may once have been, loss of relationships, loss of so many things. And so that journey of grief during your healing period will take you on so many ebbs and flows. But I'm grateful for my healing journey because I do feel like I get a little better every single day. Now, I already know that was way more than 30 seconds. But when you are practicing gratitude, there's never a thing as too much, because gratitude shifts your perspective. It shifts your mentality, your mindset, and it helps you be better able to power through those tougher times. So first, let's talk about what a trigger is, because I think it's a word that gets thrown around so much all over socials, all over conversations, but it's not something that everyone fully understands. So a trigger is anything, a sound, a smell, a word, a sound, a situation, a feeling that brings up memories or feelings from a past trauma. It can happen suddenly, and it can make you feel like you are right back in that painful experience. And something else to note about triggers is that they can be conscious or subconscious. Now, I completely understand the feeling of having a past event triggered and feeling like that I'm all the way back to when it happened. I've been there so many times. Triggers are so overwhelming. And when they hit, it feels like you are losing control of everything. But that is where emotional resilience comes into play. Emotional resilience is your ability to bounce back from these moments, to feel the trigger, whatever it may have been, and still regain your balance. So today I'm going to share some practical tools to help you do just that. Navigate your triggers with grace and build emotional resilience. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is to understand, quote unquote, our triggers. This is where journaling really comes in handy. If you've listened to my previous episode on journaling for healing, you know that I'm all about getting those thoughts down on paper, getting them out of your physical body. When you start noticing what sets off your triggers, whether it's certain people, certain places, or certain situations, you can begin to take back a bit of control, right? So in my book that will be out eventually, it'll probably be out next year, I talk about a traumatic event that occurred for me when I was a young girl in my teens. And to this day, there are certain smells, certain songs, certain sounds, certain tones of voices that to this day stand to trigger me when I hear them, smell them, experience them. Now, I can talk about this one because I have been able to face this demon down almost. If I don't even know the correct way to put it, but that's the best way for me to put it. I can face it down, meaning I recognize that this is what this trigger is related to, and I recognize that I am not that same 15, 16-year-old girl. I am not in that situation. That person no longer has any power over me. And so I'm better able to navigate through when that happens, when that trigger strikes. So here's a quick exercise. Next time you feel triggered, pause for just a moment and take a deep breath. Write down, or if you don't have a pen and paper, open up the notes section on your phone, or even open up the voice memo section on your phone and discuss exactly what happened. Every detail that you can recall, where you were, who you were with, what thoughts crossed your mind, what song was on the radio if you were in a car, what song was playing in the mall, what smells were present at the time. This is key because once you understand your triggers, you can start to predict and avoid, or at least better manage them. There are certain things that you simply cannot avoid. Like if you are still living in the town in which you experienced a trauma, it is next to impossible to avoid certain places all the time, simply because that place exists and they can't tear it down for your, benefit or anything like that. And it's not that anyone doesn't care. It's just simply that's just not how things work. So learning how to manage them when you can't avoid them is key. Now, let's be real. Like I just said, we cannot always avoid everything that triggers us, everyone that triggers us. So sometimes we're going to get hit with that wave of emotion. And that brings me to the next tool, grounding. Now, you guys know me. If you've listened to the show, if you followed me in the past on socials, you know that grounding is so important to me. It is a huge deal for me. It is something that I do daily, whether I get triggered or not. I ground simply because it helps me to remain in the moment. Grounding techniques are lifesavers when it comes to navigating overwhelming feelings. These techniques help you to stay in the present moment rather than letting your mind spiral into panics and flashbacks. And that is often what causes triggers to be so bad, are the flashbacks. I know, again, from personal experience, the flashbacks are often the worst part. And it's often the part that allows you and that causes that spiral that you feel like you can't come out of. So let me share a few of my favorite grounding techniques with you. So the first one is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. So this is where you're going to engage your 5 senses. And I believe I touched on this just a bit in a previous episode, but let me expand a little more. So where you start is you name 5 things that you can see, because we can often see 5 things if we just look around our space. 4, things that you can feel. So whether it is the fabric up against your skin, whether it's your hands touching each other and they feel sweaty, no matter what it is, the hat on your head. For me right now, the headphones on my ears, the seat that I'm sitting on, so on and so forth. 3 things you can hear. For me right now, I hear my voice, and I think I hear some things outside. The 3rd thing I hear is silence. So, number 2 is going to be 2 things that you can smell. Whenever you start to activate that sense of smell, it brings you back to whatever moment you're in. Right now, for me, I smell my soap because I just took a shower. I smell my soap, and I also smell the air freshener that I have in my podcast studio. So I smell those 2 things right now. And finally, the last thing that you want to do, which is number 1, something that you can taste. So whether it is something you're drinking, something you're eating, something you just ate, something you just drank, whether you just brushed your teeth, no matter what it is, do that. And so what this technique does is that it pulls you right back into the present moment and away from whatever the overwhelming emotion is. It works. It really does. And like, I have to do it oftentimes. Actually, I had to start doing that technique when I was flying because I travel a lot. I host retreats. I travel for fashion shows and photo shoots and all of these things. And when I get on planes, because of my fear of heights, like my fear of heights is atrocious, right? Y'all, like, it's bad. But when I would get on a plane, my panic would set in so bad. And there have been times in my life where I didn't go anywhere because I refused to get on a plane. And so I began using this technique when it was time for me to fly, to help calm myself, to help relax my mind and realize that you're on a plane. Like, whatever doom and gloom you have in your head is just that. It's in your head. All right. So the number two grounding technique that I'm going to discuss today is box breathing. Simple, but so powerful. I recommend this to my children. I recommend this to friends and family all the time. So you inhale for a count of 4. You're going to hold it at the top for 4 seconds. Then you're going to exhale for 4 seconds. And then hold again at the bottom for 4 seconds. Now, for some people, 4 seconds is too long. Some people, it's too short. So if it's only 3 seconds, or if you want to start with 2 seconds, it's okay. Or even 1 second. You start wherever you are. Meet yourself wherever you are. Don't try to do something that is beyond your capacity, because then it won't be effective for you. This box breathing technique, it works. It is your best friend when a trigger hits. And that is because that type of breathing actually disrupts those signals to your nervous system, telling your nervous system, hey, we're good. And so number 3 on my list of favorite grounding tools is touching something solid. Now, I know this is going to sound very, very basic, but hear me out. So touching something cold, something solid, something textured, for example, like an ice cube, a smooth rock, or a piece of fabric that contains a pattern of some sort or some type of design or something on it that rises, that you can feel. It brings your attention away from the emotional wave and back into your body. So I have these little swatches, fabric swatches. I used to sew stuff all the time for my kids when my kids were smaller. They always needed costumes and stuff like that. And so like I would have to sew stuff because a lot of times it was last minute and I just did not have the time, nor then when they were small did I have the money. We didn't have the money to buy these costumes, and it was like 5 of them, so like we don't have time to be buying 5 costumes, so I would make them. So I would go and get fabric, and so what I did is I kept fabric swatches of all these different kinds of fabric that I have, and I cut little squares and I stapled them together, and each fabric feels just a little different. And I'll take it and I just leave it in my car. I don't put it in my purse, only because I change purses so often that if I do that, I will misplace it and I'll forget it. And when I really need it, I won't have it. So that's just a little hack and a little tip. Now remember, emotional resilience isn't something that just magically happens. It's like a muscle. You gotta work it out regularly. And part of building that resilience is creating a healthy habit of emotional resilience, of working that supports your overall emotional well-being. So for me, regular exercise, y'all know I am always in the gym, constantly. I'm in the gym, I'm on my yoga mats, and it is really good for me. Mindfulness practices, meditation, deep breathing, grounding, things like that. And I surround myself with people who love the absolute shit out of me, right? I don't need people around me who pretend to love and who don't support my wellness. They have been absolute game changers, having people that just love me for me and that allow me to just be me and deal with whatever it is I need to deal with. Because when you're constantly nurturing your emotional health, it's easier to bounce back when a trigger actually does hit. Now, I'm going to give you a few tips for learning how to build that emotional resilience muscle of your own. So mindfulness meditation. Like, if you haven't tried it, give it a shot. Even just 10 minutes a day of focusing on your breath can make a huge difference. I meditate every morning when I first wake up before I begin my day, along with my gratitudes and my prayers. So I've got a whole morning routine working for me before my day ever hits, before my feet hit the floor. And then at the end of each night, I meditate again at night before I go to bed, because oftentimes I have things in my head that will plague me and it will not allow me to rest. And so in order for me to let it go and to put my mind at ease and to rest, I will meditate and journal and pray and do my stretches. Like I said, I have a whole routine, but that mindfulness meditation, it is so helpful and it gives you so much clarity. Another thing is affirmations. Remind yourself of your strength, because even if you are just at the beginning of your healing journey, you started this journey, whereas a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, you were not here even beginning the journey. So remind yourself of how strong you are, and how much strength and courage that it took to even begin to deal with and address your traumas. A simple, I am safe in this moment, or I can handle whatever comes my way, can shift your mindset when you are feeling triggered. That it's like, I have a set of affirmation cards. I have a set that I created for myself. I have a notebook with nothing but affirmations in it. And I'll go to that when I need one. Sometimes I'll even use that, especially when I'm about to journal about certain things and I know that it's going to be particularly difficult for me. Boom. I'll do that. I'll use my affirmations to help guide me through that. And finally, community. We heal in community, y'all. Don't go through this alone. So whether it's a therapist, friends and family, or an online support group, having people to lean on makes all the difference, right? I would highly suggest therapy because therapy is amazing. And it really does help you in your times of uncertainty and feeling like you don't necessarily want to burden your friends or family with your stuff. Now, online support groups are good as well. But I will say this, I do want to caution you all because I did an online support group after my grandmother passed for grief, and it was too much for me. Now, I don't know if it's because of my empathic abilities that it simply was so overwhelming for me that I was feeling other people's traumas, and it just almost took me out. And I remember my therapist saying, so no, we're not going to do the online support groups right now. It's too much for you. So let's just focus on individual therapy. So I really hope that this was helpful. And so we're going to wrap it up here. And remember that while triggers are unavoidable, they don't have to derail your healing or your day or your week or your month or your year. Understanding your triggers, practicing grounding techniques, and building emotional resilience are keys to navigating those tough moments. Take it one step at a time. Be gentle with yourself through the process. You're not alone in this. We're all learning, growing, and healing together, even though we may be on different healing paths. I do have a community, guys. If you guys are interested in joining the community where we can talk about healing stuff and we can deal with healing stuff, I am also going to be having a virtual online book club that does feature the book I just wrote, Note to Self. Like I said, the book will be out in 2025, and we will be having a virtual book club that you will have the ability to get in on, so that you can discuss the book and even discuss some of your own things that you've done, tools that you've used, or maybe even get some pointers on your own healing journey. I definitely look forward to that with everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you found it helpful, please share it with a friend who might need it and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And also, if you want to dive deeper into any of these topics, you can head over to my email, shoot me an email, and I can actually read your question anonymously if you'd like over the air, and I can create an episode about it and we can talk about it. I also have a healing worksheet that you can grab. It's completely free. All you have to do is just grab the link that'll be in the description box and you can grab yours. And so until next time, take care of yourselves, keep healing, keep growing, and keep thriving, family.